Namaste, Hamesha Kushro Bitia. I am JVN Dr. Minakshi, Assistant Professor in Department of शलाकय तंत्र, Faculty of Ayurvedic Science, ज्योति विद्यापीठ वुमेन्स यूनिवर्सिटी। आज का हमारा टॉपिक है एनाटॉमी ऑफ सिलियरी बॉडी। ठीक है, जो मिडिल वास्कुलर कोट होती है आई बॉल की, उसमें तीन स्ट्रक्चर्स आते हैं आपके, आइरिस, सिलियरी बॉडी और कोरोइड। ठीक है, तो आज हम डिस्कस करेंगे सिलियरी बॉडी क्या होती है। सिलियरी बॉडी इज द एंटीरियर मोस्ट कॉन्टिन्यूएशन ऑफ द कोरोइड at oris aorta. It forms a part of the angle of anterior and posterior chambers. The iris is attached to it and the inner side is divided into two parts, anterior part and the posterior part. The anterior part is having finger-like ciliary processes called the pars plicatum. The posterior part, which is smooth, called the pars plana. So in this image you can see the two parts, the pars plana, which is almost plain structure, and second is the pars plicata, which contains the finger-like projections, which are called the ciliary processes. Then comes the microscopic structure of ciliary body. There are 5 layers. The first layer is the supraciliary lamina. It is the outermost condensed part of the stroma and consists of pigmented collagen fibers. Second layer is the stroma of the ciliary body. It consists of connective tissue of collagen and fibroblast. It is embedded in this are the ciliary muscle, vessels, nerves, pigment and other cells. Ciliary muscle occupies most of the outer part of ciliary body. It's a non-striated muscle and is supplied by the parasympathetic fibers through the short ciliary nerves. It has 3 parts: the longitudinal fibers, circular fibers and the radial fibers. The longitudinal fibers which help in the aqueous outflow, the circular fibers which help in accommodation, and third one is the radial fiber which also help in the aqueous outflow. Third layer is a layer of pigmented epithelium. It is the forward continuation of the retinal pigment epithelium. The fourth layer is a layer of non-pigmented epithelium. It consists of mainly low columnar or cuboidal cells and is the forward continuation of the sensory retina. Fifth layer is the internal limiting membrane. It is the forward continuation of the internal limiting membrane of the retina. Then comes the functions of the ciliary body. It helps in the formation of aqueous humor, and ciliary muscles helps in accommodation. There are two functions of ciliary body: the production of aqueous humor and second one is the accommodation. So, what is accommodation? From the ciliary processes extend the fibers towards the lens. These fibers are called the zonular fibers. The contraction of the muscular ciliaris reduces the tension of the zonule fibers and result in a thickening of the lens which focuses on close objects, and this is called the accommodation. Then what are the ciliary processes? It is an important structure because it produces the aqueous humor. There are 70 to 80 finger-like projections with vascular core radiating from pars plicatum. They occupy the peripheral part of posterior chamber. Each process is about 2 mm long and 0.5 mm in diameter. Ciliary processes increases the surface area for secretion. That's why their structure is like a finger-like projection. The grooves in between serve as the attachment for the lens zonules. And zonules are the suspensory ligament of lens which are produced by the ciliary epithelium. They provide the stability of lens and helps in accommodation also. Thank you so much. This session is powered by digital version 2.0 Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please mention in the comment box. I will resolve it soon. Thank you so much.
We should include the diffuse light examination for gross lesions of the lids, conjunctiva and cornea, including testing for sensations. Then regurgitation test and syringing to rule out lacrimal sac infection. The patient may have the chronic dacryocystitis To rule out that particular disease of the lacrimal sac, we have to do the regurgitation test and the syringing. Then microscopic biomicroscopic examination after staining of the corneal ulcer with 2% freshly prepared aqueous solution of fluorescein dye or sterilized fluorescein impregnated filter paper strip to note the size, shape, depth, margin, floor and vascularization of the corneal ulcer. On biomicroscopy, also note the presence of keratic precipitates, which are known as a KP in short, at the back of cornea. They may be there in the anterior chamber. You have to know the depth and the contents of the anterior chamber, then the color and pattern of iris, and the condition of crystalline lens. So you have to all examine all these through the slant lamp biomicroscopic examination. Then we should go for the laboratory investigations. First, we should do the routine laboratory investigations such as hemoglobin, total leukocyte count, differential leukocyte count, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, blood sugar level, fasting and PP. Complete urine and stool examination should be carried out in each case. Then the microbiological investigations should be done. These studies are essential to identify the causative organism, confirm the diagnosis, and guide the treatment to be instituted. Materials for such investigations is obtained by scraping the base and margins of the corneal ulcer under local anesthesia using 2% xylocaine. With the help of a modified camera spatula or by simply using the band tip of a 20-gauge hypodermic needle, the material obtained is used for the following investigations, like gram and Gizma stain smears for possible identification of infecting organisms. Then 10% potassium hydroxide wet preparation for identification of fungal hyphae, and CFW calcofluor white stain preparation is viewed under fluorescein microscope for fungal filaments, the walls of which appear bright apple green. Then culture on the blood agar medium for aerobic organisms, and culture on the Seborrhoeids dextrose agar medium for fungi. Then comes the treatment part. First, we should go for the treatment of the uncomplicated corneal ulcer. The bacterial corneal ulcer is a vision-threatening condition and demands the urgent treatment by identification and eradication of causative bacteria. The treatment of corneal ulcer can be discussed under three headings. First is the specific treatment for the cause. Second is the non-specific supportive therapy. Third is the physical and general measures. First, the specific treatment. We should give the topical antibiotics. Initial therapy means before the results of culture and sensitivity are available, should be with combination therapy to cover the both gram-negative and gram-positive organisms. Means you will send the sample for culture and sensitivity test, but that will take 2 to 3 days. So we should not wait for the report of the culture and sensitivity and then identify that particular organism, then antibiotic should be given. This is the ideal way to do, but but bacterial corneal ulcers should be treated as soon as possible because they can affect our vision. So we should start the initial therapy with the broad spectrum antibiotics which cover both the gram negative and gram positive organisms. It is preferable to start fortified gentamicin 14 mg per ml or fortified tobramycin 14 mg per ml eye drops along with the fortified cefazolin 50 mg per ml every half to 1 hour for first few days and then reduce to 2 hourly. Once the favorable response is obtained, the fortified drops can be substituted by more diluted commercially available eye drops like ciprofloxacin eye drops, or ofloxacin eye drops, or getafloxacin eye drops. Then systemic antibiotics, these are usually not required. However, a cephalosporin and aminoglycoside or oral ciprofloxacin 70 milligram twice daily may be given in fulminating cases with perforation and when sclera is also involved. Then the non-specific treatment. Cycloplegic drugs. Preferably 1% atropine eye ointment or drops should be used to reduce the pain from ciliary spasm and to prevent the formation of posterior synecdoche from secondary iridocyclitis. Atropine also increases the blood supply to anterior uvea by relieving the pressure on the anterior ciliary arteries and so brings the more antibodies in the aqueous humor. It also reduces exudation by decreasing hyperemia and vascular permeability. Other cycloplegics other than the atropine, which can be used in 2%, are homatropine eye drops. Then next is the systemic analgesics and anti-inflammatory drugs such as paracetamol and ibuprofen relieve the pain and decrease edema. Then vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin B complex and vitamin C, they all help in the early healing of ulcer. And then next is the physical and general measures. Hot fomentation. The local application of heat, preferably the dry heat, it gives the comfort, reduces pain and causes the vasodilatation. Then dark goggles may be used to prevent photophobia, and rest, good diet and fresh air may have a soothing effect on the patient. Then next is the treatment of the non-healing corneal ulcer. If the ulcer progresses despite the above therapy, the following additional measures should be taken. First, the removal of any cause of non-healing ulcer. A thorough search for any already missed cause not allowing the healing should be made, and when found, such factors should be eliminated. The common causes of non-healing ulcers are as under local causes, the associated raised intraocular pressure, concretions, misdirected cilia, impacted foreign body, dacryocystitis, inadequate therapy, wrong diagnosis, lag of thalamus, and excessive vascularization of ulcer. Systemic causes, the diabetes mellitus, severe anemia, malnutrition, chronic debilitating diseases, and patients on systemic steroids. These are all causes should be eradicated. Then mechanical debridement of ulcer. To remove the necrosed material by scraping the floor of the ulcer with a spatula under local anesthesia may hasten the healing. Then cauterization of the ulcer may also be considered in non-responding cases. The cauterization may be performed with pure carbolic acid or 10 to 20% trichloroacetic acid. Then bandage soft contact lens may also help in healing. Then periotomy. The severing of perilimbal conjunctival vessels may be performed when excessive corneal vascularization is hindering the healing. Then next is the treatment of impending perforation. When ulcer progresses and perforation seems imminent, the following additional measures may help to prevent perforation and its complications. First is nose strain. The patient should be advised to avoid sneezing, coughing, and straining during stool. He should be advised the strict bed rest. Pressure bandage should be applied to give some external support. Lowering of intraocular pressure by simultaneous use of acetazolamide, intravenous mannitol, and oral glycerol, timolol eye drops, and even paracentesis with slow evaluation of aqueous from the anterior chamber may be performed. Then tissue adhesive glue can be used. Conjunctival flap gives support to the weak tissue. Bandage, soft contact lens, penetrating therapeutic keratoplasty should be done. Then last is the treatment of perforated corneal ulcer. The best is to prevent perforation. However, if perforation has occurred, immediate measures should be taken to restore the integrity of perforated cornea. Depending upon the size of perforation and availability, measures like use of tissue adhesive glues, covering with conjunctival flap, use of bandage, soft contact lens, or therapeutic keratoplasty should be undertaken. Best is an urgent therapeutic keratoplasty. So our session completes here. Thank you so much. This session is powered by Digital Version 2.0, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please mention in the comment box. I will resolve it.